France, we have Calvin Coolberry from Texas. In Germany, we have Doc Binder, former world champion from Florida. In Italy, we have Wes Ketchum, a weasel from Chicago area. In Russia, we have Philip Peterson from Kentucky. And finally, in Turkey, we have Tommy Anderson from Massachusetts. What do you think of the board, guys?
Well, whenever you have a world champion on the board, that's going to move things around there. And we just saw Wes last week at the undercard for Weasel Royale play a really effective England. So that's going to be interesting to see, how that works out.
All right, let's go right to the game. In spring 1901, okay, Doug, why don't you start? Anything of note in the eastern part of the board?
Standard bounce in the Black Sea. You've got a bounce in Galicia. Probably really everything else standard. Russia goes south to Ukraine. What I'm interested in is Italy going to Tyrolia and Apulia. That's can be a really fun place for both of those armies to be. Gives you the opportunity to convoy to Greece or to go to Munich or to go to Trieste, giving yourself a lot of flexibility over there.
Let's talk about that convoy to Greece, because that's always something that's on everybody's mind. What are you thinking about when you're deciding whether that's what you want to do or just to put the fleet in?
When I play Italy, what I'm really thinking about is not my fourth dot, but rather my fifth dot. And usually your fifth dot is negotiated rather than taken by force. So if I can persuade Italy, if I can persuade Austria to give me Trieste as a borrow for Greece or directly take Greece, I like taking it right now because then it's a little bit quicker on making an attack on Turkey because I put another fleet down and that just takes Tunis for dot 5. And instead of going to Tunis and then spending a year to sort of move back east again, you're moving east right away. So it's a little bit faster. So I like that move if they feel they have the trust to do it.
Okay, Randy, what do you see in the West?
First thing that jumps out to me is that France opens to the Channel, which I got to say England actually got a little bit lucky here because he decided to move Liverpool up to Eddie. And if Russia had put an army in St. Pete, England could be in a position of not being able to guarantee himself a build because he has to cover London and try for Norway. But he's not in that. He will still be able to pick up Norway and guarantee it, and he can cover London with the North Sea if he feels so inclined. But that, of course, isn't great either because if France gets really clever, he can maybe try to walk to the North Sea or get Germany to support him in or support Germany in. So we could see a sea line out of this. We could see France and Germany move against England. Or this could just be France putting himself in the Channel and saying, I'm going to be, this is where I'm going to be, and you're just going to have to deal with it. And it gives him a lot of say over Belgium as well. He could try to force Belgium in the fall if he wanted.
All right, let's take a look at the fall. Okay, Randy, why don't we start with the West?
Interesting. A good move by England, I think, convoying himself down to London. He doesn't risk the North Sea. He covers London. He picks up Norway. France does nothing with the English Channel. Interestingly enough, France does not support his way into Belgium, which, given that what he did do with England was nothing, or with the English Channel, he didn't do anything. That's surprising. So France is only going to get one build in 1901, which is not something you see all the time. Usually France gets 2 in 01.
It's really interesting to see. It's really interesting to see. I was assuming the order was to support the Germans into the North Sea, but we actually made sort of a joke order of supporting north to Denmark, which is really just a wasted move here, right?
I'm not sure what France is thinking, unless France is just trying to really slow play it. He knows he can get Portugal whenever he wants, and maybe there's diplomatic reasons for him not wanting to go up 2 and wanting to just slow play the board as possible. The only other thing of note is that for the third or fourth game in a row now, Germany has let Russia walk into Sweden. There's been no bounce there. So that has meant different things in every game. So it'll be interesting to find out what it means in this one.
You expecting to see a fleet breast build for France?
No, I would expect to see an army in Paris.
What do you think, Doug?
Yeah, I might do. Yeah, I'd probably do Army Paris as well here. You don't really want to pick a fight with England, and you haven't really done so. Yeah.
And it's Fleet Brest.
All right, there you go.
All right, let's go
Okay.
back to the East. We didn't even
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm jumping the gun here. Go ahead, Doug.
All right. So, there definitely is not an AI here, and it looks like Wes is basically okay. Well, I'm going to de-escalate. I'm going to go back home. Austria self-stood in Trieste. This is the one time you almost never have it happen where Turkey could have actually bounced Austria and Greece. Instead, supported Russia down, trying to make a friend. This could be really interesting to see if Russia and Turkey can figure out how to work together, because Russia's in a really good spot here, being in Galicia and Romania, and Sweden can build all over the map and follow it up. If I'm Italy, I'm not super pleased that I ended up having to convoy to Tunis. It's not the end of the world, but I would have preferred to instead have been pushing myself and being more advanced with that opening. But probably right to de-escalate there.
All right. Thanks, Doug. All right. So in the winter, we see that Fleet North Coast build along with an Army Warsaw by Russia making a play on both fronts. We see the Fleet Eddy for England, the Fleet Brest for France, Fleet and an Army for Germany, the two armies standardly for Austria, and the standard Fleet Naples and Fleet Smyrna for Italy and Turkey. So maybe the biggest, I think, maybe interesting build is this Fleet North Coast for Russia. Doug, you want to comment on that a little bit?
I think it's too early. A fleet in the north on the north coast is so tactically limited; it can only go to two places. So everybody knows what it's doing at this point. It is going to Norway with support from Sweden, or it's supporting Sweden to Norway. One of those two things. So what's more interesting is what it tells me, which is, Russia wants to make nice with Germany and is uninterested in doing anything against Germany. And that gives Doc, as Germany, a lot of tactical flexibility. He can pick his opponent at this point, Doc, that is.
Oh, just to riff off that, I love Doc's position here. He got France to build a fleet in Bray, leaving France's homeland very vulnerable to Doc's three armies there, and he got a Russian build in the north coast of St. Petersburg, which gives England something to think about. So Doc definitely has a lot of potential here.
Spring 1902. Okay, Doug, go ahead.
Okay, I think we do have. Russia for the first time did not go to the Black Sea, and Turkey gets in. So that's going to be fun. I guess the thing that's most interesting here is actually Turkey didn't help Russia into Serbia. Instead, made a play for Romania. And I'm not sure that was a good move in this instance. So, which leaves Russia and Turkey not working together. Meanwhile, Italy shuffles over to the Aegean Sea, gets in there with support from Greece. That's nicely done. Otherwise, Austria just held in place. And, my guess here is that Russia's going to turn on Turkey.
Yeah, that seems likely. Randy, how about the West?
Doc kind of decides to punch in two directions at once. He forces Burgundy while bouncing Belgium, so he can guarantee himself Belgium next turn. He's not going to be able to get a French dot, which maybe his pitch to France will be, I'll move Munich up to Belgium and support it in, and we'll be copacetic there. But he's certainly moving against France and keeping France on his toes. And meanwhile, he's also forced the Baltic with fairly clear intentions of forcing Sweden next turn. Russia takes Norway from St. Petersburg, allowing England to retreat to Barents and threaten St. Petersburg. So Russia's position, like Doug was mentioning, that fleet in St. Petersburg is real limited in terms of what it can do. And I think we're about to see it not work out for Russia. He could very well lose Sweden, not be able to keep Norway, and he also has to guess as to whether or not he defends St. Petersburg or not. So not a great position for Russia up north. This looks like, if it's not exactly an England-Germany alliance, they're at least friendly, and Germany is kind of in the driving seat here.
How bad a position is this for France?
It's not terrible, honestly. He moved to the Mao. He'll be able to pick up Portugal, and he can use Spain to cover Marseille or Gascony to cover Marseille, and he's in Paris. So he's not going to lose any dots, and he's going to build one this turn, which presumably will probably be an army in Brest. That probably would make the most sense. It's not great. You don't want to have a German army in Burgundy, but he's not in real danger here. He's just kind of inconvenienced.
Doug, you were going to jump in with something.
Yeah, I mean, Germany really alone can't defeat France in this position. So it's not disastrous. I mean, what's really going to happen here is Germany's going to pick up Belgium and probably Sweden. And a competent England and Germany can execute a very effective two-front war against Russia and France. But it does require England participating, which to date they haven't. So, you know, the thing I would note about England is England kind of needs Germany's help right now, and is focused on just kind of taking things back from Russia, probably with the idea like, hey, I will go and, you know, drop those units against France once you help me take back what I lost.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take a quick look at what happens in the fall. And Doug, why don't you start?
Well, the most interesting thing that I see immediately is, you know, Sevastopol held and didn't even support Romania. And I don't understand what that's about. You know, Galicia going back to Ukraine, okay. Is this just Russia saying like, hey, I give up on the South? I'm not sure. Maybe it's really effective diplomacy by other powers, you know, spinning a bad story or something like that. So hard to know what's going on there. But the net result is that Bulgaria is able to get into Romania. In the meantime, the Italians and the Austrians working together take Bulgaria and then backfill Ionian to Greece. So you've got a pretty effective moving AI at this point. The one thing I would say about Wes's position that I don't love is he's just stranded that unit in Tunis for a little while. He's got an army just kind of hanging out there like, hey, I'm a sunbather, come pick me up. So, you know, I might have preferred to convoy that to Greece instead, to give myself a little more flexibility. I will say with the caveat that when he does want to prosecute a Western attack, having the unit in Tunis is kind of nice. So I almost kind of think we're going to see, you know, Italy try and get two here, put two fleets down and rush west.
Yeah, Russia's got to be kicking himself here, knowing that he could have held Romania simply by double supporting it, right?
Yeah, and that would have blown up the unit in Bulgaria.
Yeah. Okay, Randy, you want to break down the West?
I think Doc might have wondered whether Doug was going to say that he can't take on France by himself here, and decided to give that the old college try, because he's definitely got in France's head a little bit. He walks to Gascony and gets France to walk out of Paris and into Marseille. So, and he picks up Belgium, so he's going to be able to probably build an army in Munich. He gets Sweden, so he can build two, probably an army and a fleet. And even if he's not able to actually get dots off of France, because France did pick up Portugal and is going to be able to build something in either Brest or Paris, he is a major pain in France's neck right now, and is definitely in the driver's seat here. England, meanwhile, retakes Norway and is going to be able to take St. Petersburg next turn. So my guess is England is going to let Germany and France just annoy each other and see which way it looks like he can break and get another dot or two for himself. Or maybe France or one of France or Germany is going to be able to talk England into doing something helpful for them. But
just
this
a small
is fun play by Doc.
Just a small point, but would you have rather see that army move out of London into Yorkshire, just in the off chance that he walked into St. Pete, so that leave London open for a build?
Yeah, maybe, but I can see England also being cautious and not wanting to run the risk of France for some reason throwing something into London or trying to walk English to London. Or I probably would have taken the risk personally. I probably would have done that because a fleet build in London would be great if you can get it, but I'm not sure it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I'm going to be controversial here. If I'm France, I'm going to build a fleet, and I'm going to walk up to the Irish Sea from the English Channel. It's not stoppable, and England is sitting over in Barents. And I just try and say, like, hey, Germany, here I am. I'm your buddy. We do not need to fight.
Yeah, Germany. You're gonna react to Germany punching you by punching England. I like it.
That's pretty much it.
All right, let's see what he does. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Well, indeed, that's not what actually happened. We actually saw the army build in Paris, which is certainly what you would be more conventional, but maybe not surprising. Germany actually puts 2 armies down, and one of them in Berlin. So whether that's an opportunity to do some pivoting now that he's made an enemy out of Russia, we shall see. Russia elects to remove Galicia. Again, probably not a lot of good choices here. And Italy builds another fleet. What do you think about the Russian disband? Is that what you would want to see in this situation? Or do you think maybe pulling the fleet in Sev would have been a better bet?
Well, I guess it depends on really what you want to defend and who you want to defend against. I probably would have. So at this point, like the ship is probably sailed in the north, and you're doing a competent defense, but you're using 2 units to defend 1 dot up there, and I don't like that very much. So I would have wanted to pull Bothnia or Livonia and keep my southern force as strong as I could to try and focus my effort in 1 location rather than divide into 2. You've lost the north. Just sort of tell England like, hey, I'm going to pull my fleet right here. You're going to get St. Pete whenever you want it. You don't have a lot of good choice though.
Yep. All right. Let's go into 1903.
Germany is going to try to make what I thought here is that Germany was going to try to make France use every single one of his units to get rid of that army in Gascony, and he almost did here.
But some interesting choices by Germany. Why don't you break that down, Randy?
Sure. Yeah, this is interesting is exactly the right word. So he forces his way back into Burgundy. So Belgium remains safe because England covers Bray and Spain. So again, this is Doc messing with France. This is Doc telling France, you're not going to have any say over what your units do or where they go. I'm going to dictate your moves. Meanwhile, yeah, he drops down into Tyrolia and Munich, which could be an attempt to go around Switzerland into Piedmont. But I think that's more just Doc putting himself into different theaters so he can have a say over what's going on around the board. He doesn't have an enemy, really, at least not one that can do anything to him. So I think this is just Doc diplomatically making himself as involved with the rest of the board as he can. Meanwhile, up north, England grabs St. Petersburg.
No, I think it's a bounce, isn't it?
You're right. That is a bounce.
Yeah.
And with German help, he'll be able to take it in the fall. So we'll see whether Germany gives him that help. And he covers North Sea, which he had to do, obviously.
Okay, yeah. Doug, take us down in the east.
Well, the most consequential decision in the east is the Aegean and the Naples going to the west. And I kind of maybe see this. I'm not sure. I think West is doing a little bit of the thing that you do when you're playing Italy. That's a mistake and moving a little bit back and forth. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But he did go to Piedmont, which is also very intriguing. So be interested to hear more about what's going on there. Could be a scenario where he doesn't really want the East to resolve that fast, and instead wants to get West to, get a piece of France before France falls down. I quite like Turkey's order set here. He took Sev, that was a guess. In the meantime, Austria is deploying to take Romania, which is effectively a Russian dot at this point. So he's going to stay the same, and Russia's going to lose one, presumably. He might not even necessarily defend himself in Sev and do a forward retreat into Moscow, which makes Black Sea a potential free agent in that scenario. So, I kind of like what happened there. It's interesting at the least. Again, I think we've got a pretty strong AI. The thing that they really need to think about right now is, Doc just deployed to Tyrolia and Silesia, and he is in a position for very explosive growth. If they don't functionally deal with that now, It was an aggressive move by Doc. I'm not sure I would have gone to Tyrolia at this point, but it's fun. Let's see if he supports Piedmont to Venice to Piedmont.
Would you have preferred Silesia and Prussia, Doug?
I would have preferred to be in Silesia, but then I would have wanted to be in a position to convoy somewhere. It's not bad either way. I would have rather have been. Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at where we go from here. Okay, Doug, take us away.
Austria supported Turkey, Smyrna to Aegean. Didn't see that one coming. So otherwise, the exchange of dots in the east happens, which Turkey gets Sevastopol. This is kind of fun for Turkey because you're kind of like, you got to play for Moscow here. Maybe you can work with Austria. You're on the edge of getting out of the box a little bit, just to the north this time. Otherwise, Italy is moving west a little bit, convoyed to Tuscany. I quite like that convoy.
Yeah, get that army back in play, right?
Yeah, you got that army back in play. And Munich went to Bohemia with Tyrolia supporting Marseille to Piedmont. So, and he walked out, and I won't go too far to the west, but the thing with Germany right now is it links together so much of what's happening. Germany is basically attacking all out to the east now and made a deal with France. So this is pretty fun. Very fascinating.
Germany, I think now that he has pretty firmly entrenched himself as probably the diplomatic leader of the West, has decided to pull together the Western Triple. He's pulled out of France. He's helping France in Piedmont and letting him swing his fleets down there. And he clearly has a lot of trust with England, because England, he's leaving Holland and Denmark fairly open, which, it wouldn't be a good stab if England decided to pick up one of those. But still, that shows that clearly Doc thinks that he's got an ally in England. And he helps England take St. Petersburg as well, while not actually pick up any dots himself this turn. So yeah, this is the Western Triple falling together with Doc probably as the leader.
Yeah, I don't think that England trusts Germany all that much, or France, because he kept that army home. He could have maneuvered so that he had convoyed to Norway in position to get the army into Russia and do something productive with it, and didn't. And that could cost England in the long run.
Okay, so for our builds, it looks like we have a English build of a fleet in Liverpool. So maybe we spoke too quickly about the Western Triple. And we'll talk about that in a second. Austria builds Army Vienna, the only open center, and Russia probably logically pulls the fleet in Armenia. So, let's actually just move ahead into the spring and see where this goes. And yeah, that is probably as short-lived a Western Triple as there could have one. Randy, go ahead.
England makes its play, and France sees it coming, which is interesting. So whether this is Doc just instigating chaos, or this is England and France just causing chaos on their own, they are now at loggerheads. Germany pulls back and covers Munich, and puts himself in a position to take Warsaw. Except that Austria gets there first, and Austria can hold it if he wants it. So yeah, we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown from Doc, actually. From the first couple of years, he was really in the driver's seat and kind of doing whatever he wanted. Now, I think he might have gotten a little bit too clever, tried to force down to Austria before really solidifying his position. And he's certainly not in any danger now, but now events are kind of spiraling out of his control. And it'll be interesting to see what England and France, if they're able to get one of them is able to get Doc on board, or if they just slug it out for no particular gain to either of them for the next year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to me. Doc's position. He's enough away from his home centers that he's not going to get what happens to Germany a lot, where he gets pinned into his home centers and then, his game slows down. There's still a lot of play, but of particular danger there, really for everyone, is moving the French army into Tyrolia. It's a clever move, and I get why Italy did that, and I love that move. But at the same time, he followed up to the West Med and to Tunis, basically pulling France out of position with that army. So France is not really in a great position here. Italy is there. Germany now has reason to be annoyed at you, and England made its play. In the East, Russia, you at this point, you're doing the best thing you can. You don't have a lot of opportunity in play. So you're doing what you can. The thing that I think is most significant here is the 3-fleet hold, Bulgaria, Greece, Aegean, allowing the convoy here to Sevastopol. And so, all of a sudden, you've got a Turkish, Italian, Austrian alliance here, probably because of what happened in the West moving so quickly. It probably consolidated them. Doc's moving one into Silesia was probably okay. Moving to Silesia and Tyrolia at the same time probably spooked people, is my guess. And now you've got Turkey not getting dug out of the corner. I will say that's not bad for the long term for Doc, though, because Turkey at some point is going to want to go grab something else and has to grow. So good play by Turkey. I like Italy drawing France out of position. I still like Doc's position. A lot of interesting opportunities here.
So AIT is not a traditionally stable alliance.
There's just not enough growth potential. Where are you going to grow? If you're Turkey, you have to grow into Russia. If you're Austria, you have to grow into Germany. If you're Italy, you have to grow into France. The only one of those powers that can do a little growth right now is Turkey into Moscow, and then you have Austria into Warsaw. Germany's really strong right now. How are you going to crack that line with a couple armies? So I just don't think that this is an alliance that's going to last very long.
All right, let's take a look at 404. Go ahead, Doug.
Italy and wow. Okay, well, there you go. This must be arranged. Look, he didn't retreat to Constantinople, which was open for a retreat. That's a clear arranged destruction of the fleet, probably to reduce tensions down there. So Turkey's not going anywhere for a while. And that was done for Ukraine to support Warsaw. So that's actually very clever by the Eastern powers. So give them some full marks for that. In the meantime, Germany can't take Warsaw, so you've got a bit of a stalemate over there. And England, I won't go west. I'll save that for you, Randy.
Thank you, because that's fun to talk about there. England and France realized that, hey, we both have 2 fleets. Neither one of us is going to get anything off the other. So instead, let's take something off of Doc. He's been toying with this for the last 4 years. And they do. They kick Doc out of Belgium, Doc's first setback here, which is always exciting to see. Doc tries to help prop up Russia, but is unsuccessful. And nothing happens up in Scandinavia. So the net result is Doc loses 1 and England gains 1 and France loses 1 because France unnecessarily supported Brest. There's no reason to do that, and he could have covered the Mid-Atlantic instead. I think that's what those orders are. No, it's this whole. No,
I think the intention was probably to support the Mid-Atlantic. I think the Brest was just a written order, but if you're gonna make that trust to support the guy into support your ally and support him into Belgium, why not cover Spain, right? And why risk Italy advancing like that?
This is just France. Whether he's just given up, he decided to let Italy walk into his dots, or if he just didn't see how possible that was. But France is now going to lose all of Iberia, well, at least Spain and Marseille, and I wouldn't. This could be the upcoming downfall of France at the hands of Italy. And one thing I just want to comment on, back in Bulgaria, Turkey taking Bulgaria, the fleet, that's if Turkey trusts Austria, which clearly they did, that's actually really good for all three of them. That really stabilizes that position, because a fleet in the south coast of Bulgaria can't do anything to Austria.
Exactly right. You're spot on, Randy. That's a really good observation, and that's a very stable position right there for all three of them. They can protect themselves with one unit each. Romania is free to leave. Greece and Bulgaria just sit there, support each other, and that's just becomes stable. So that's pretty fascinating over there, the way that developed. I would love to hear from those players at some point, if we have that opportunity, to hear how that came about, and what precipitated that. Was it Doc moving south? Was it just the way the play went? But that's really well done. I quite like what they've done down there.
Do we see that continuing, though? I mean, Turkey has nowhere to grow. Maybe the threat of Doc is neutralized a little bit by the last turn's moves, though then again, that could turn around very quickly. But Turkey's going to build here, which is immediately perhaps destabilizing. I mean, Austria could be a front and feed them dots from behind, but how else do you see this going in this game?
Well, as Turkey, I don't need to grow right away. I've got time. I'm sitting here at 6, and there's places I can grow. I'm almost taking over some of the Russian position with my armies up there. I don't feel the need to antagonize Austria if Austria is going elsewhere and fighting. And if Italy wants to hang out in the West, that's great too. Ultimately, I want to probably throw in here with Italy, if I'm Turkey, and I'm going to put an army on the board, and I'm going to convoy that up to Sevastopol. So yeah, I think Austria's at very substantial risk of getting pinched between them, but they need those armies, and so there's some stability there, which is why they set that fleet there.
Sure.
I think that they're going to be in this for a couple of years before they switch, which means they're immediately going to attack each other. But hey.
Yeah. Turkey has the opportunity here, which I'll be interested to see if he does. Okay, I was going to say Turkey could have built just one army here and kept one in the bag. I think that would have been a very smart strategic decision. Obviously, he went with a different one, which is so fun.
Yeah. And I think as we look at this position, I don't know if we're going to move away, but France has some tactical conundrums here. Very much Marseille is at risk. You could lose the mid-Atlantic. You've got a lot of tactical challenges here as France, and I just don't see the percentage anybody really throwing in and working with France for any length of time here. I think that losing Spain is just devastating to the position.
Yeah, France is about to get scavenged for spare parts here.
Yeah, and he decided to keep Tyrolia, which is sort of out in no man's land and probably can't do a heck of a lot from over there. So that's just a choice of, kind of largely conceding his position being pretty lousy, and maybe hoping to just have a wandering army or something. And Randy, do you want to start by breaking down Spring 1905 for us?
Sure. I mean, in terms of the Austria-Italy-Turkey thing, I think we do see that continue. Turkey is swinging his armies up into Sevastopol and up into Livonia and Moscow. Don't know if that has long-term gains for Turkey, but on the other hand, if you're Turkey, maybe you think you'll just keep positioning and see if Austria leaves himself open and open for a stab there. Italy gets his way into the Mid-Atlantic Ocean, which is great if you're Italy. You love that. Looks like Germany and England they don't trust each other. Germany tries to take Belgium. England holds it. Germany pulls back to Denmark. So, I mean, if you're Italy or Turkey, you like the direction that this port is headed.
Look at Turkey, like really rapidly moving to Livonia, Moscow, convoying up to Sevastopol. They're putting a lot of pressure into the center of the board as quickly as they can. And if England and Germany don't get their act together and work and figure this out, they're in real trouble.
What if you're Austria here? I mean, are you comfortable with what's going on? Are you okay being the front line for the IT?
If I'm Austria, I don't like it. but maybe I don't feel like I have a lot of choice.
All right, let's.
This we missed this in the analysis, but look at the slip through by France into Vienna.
Yeah, we did miss that. Yep.
They're going to be chasing that for a while.
Austria dislodged him and let him retreat into Vienna. So that's a tactical miss by Austria.
This was just a mistake by the Austrian. Yep.
Yeah, you're going to have fun with that, France.
All right. Yeah. All right, go ahead and break down the fall.
Well, they decided that they were going to use all their units to blow up France. And, I understand that. And that's not a terrible play for Austria right here, because I am progressively more and more uncomfortable as Austria. And you can see, Turkey made the stab, which I think is a great stab. It's the right thing to do in this instance if you're Turkey. I think this is a fantastic play by Turkey. You're going up to, there's nothing anybody can do to you. You in Italy can basically, you're going to get the lion's share of all these dots. In the West, Germany and England really can't seem to make friends. I don't know what's going on in Holland and Belgium, but they're not really progressing. And now England is working with Italy to take down France, which, I don't really want to do. I want to prop France up against Italy. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so let's look at the adjustments. This is obviously devastating for the Austrians, who have to pull 2, and the Turks go ahead and make 2 army builds.
Love it. That's a great build.
This is a great build. I mean, Austria's in real trouble here.
Turkey doesn't need another fleet. Italy is so far away from him. Why antagonize him while he can just keep marching his armies through Austria?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Italy, I want to go up to Albania right here. I want to get Trieste out of this at least, because look, Austria is in real trouble.
I'll also note that England built the Army London, so some flexible convoy options there.
Yeah, that they need to get that army into France post haste.
Let's go into Picardy.
Yeah.
Or it's not.
And it doesn't. Okay. All right. Randy, go ahead and give us the overview.
I mean, Turkey Turkey kind of slow plays it, actually. Covers Sevastopol, but he doesn't try to do anything about Serbia or Budapest. I guess he's saying get his army in a position, and then in the fall he'll see if he can take another dot. Maybe he was concerned about Italy, and Italy did just try to tap Bulgaria. So Turkey's still in a great position there, and my guess is he's just slow playing a little bit, doesn't want to try to force a dot and have an unexpected retreat somewhere inconvenient. Italy continues to make gains against France pretty successfully, retaking Spain, and will be taking Portugal next turn unless England interferes. And England, as mentioned, forgoes dropping the army down to Picardy to instead unnecessarily double support Belgium. Didn't need to do that, and does. So I think that's a slows England's momentum possibly significantly.
Yeah, some significant developments. I mean, France is putting some real pressure on Brest here. England's going to be forced into some choices. France obviously is going to lose Spain and Portugal. I want to flag here, it might look like this is a mistake. What Wes is doing is Italy. This is very likely intentional. We saw him do this last week, where he is focused on the West. He's going to focus on one opponent and make sure that he gets his strongest position. And he doesn't really need to pick a fight with either Austria or Turkey and go in on one side. So he's like, well, I just want to see this go slow while he is growing really quickly in the West. So I would expect Italy's going to get 2 builds and probably not lose anything. And he can put a fleet in Naples and army in Rome, and he's in great shape.
So how do you explain the move to Bulgaria when Turkey comes to you at the beginning of the negotiations phase and says, "What the heck"?
Well, I didn't want you to. Well, I assumed you were moving forward. I didn't want you to bring Khan up and then have Aegean and Bulgaria ready to attack me in place. Right. I just saw you take a swing at Austria. I need to be, proactive and cautious here about you doing the same thing to me.
Just one other thing that we didn't catch is the German moves to Tyrolean Silesia, which is sort of an interesting choice there, especially what's going on in France, really deciding not to take a piece of that.
Yeah, Doc needs to pick an enemy here. He's kind of just waffled around the center for the last couple of years after being pretty important the first 2 years, and he needs to pick a direction, I think, if he's going to have a chance at topping.
Okay, Doug, go ahead and give us the rundown.
Well, I love this right here. Italy just put Germany into Trieste while Austria supported him to hold in Greece. Nice.
And he put Austria in Warsaw.
And at the same time, Germany put Austria into Warsaw. Doc, nicely done, sir. Doc didn't just pick one enemy; he picked all the enemies.
This is also great by West. This is great play of Italy by West.
This is really great play by both Doc and Wes here. Really a lot of good stuff happened on this turn. First of all, France just blew up that fleet in Brest, as we talked about. Hey, there's problems. England chose to defend Belgium rather than Brest, which means he's going to lose Belgium next year anyway. In the same time, you have Italy taking all of Iberia, really taking a dominant position in it for the rest of this game. Turkey is in great shape, but Italy now really holds a stalemate line in the West and is able to build and focus east or continue to grow in the West. I mean, West has a really, really good position here. I really like Italy's spot.
I'm just looking. Is there anyone that that Doc did not attack this turn? I guess he didn't attack France or Italy.
That's only because he doesn't border him at this point.
That's true. Okay. All right. So Turkey pulls that fleet in the Black Sea, keeps all the armies. Germany puts down an army in Munich. Italy puts down an army in a fleet. And let's just pump right into spring 1907. And Randy, go ahead and give us the lowdown.
Italy is starting to attempt to pivot towards the east now. He's blocked by Austria. Somewhat surprisingly, Austria doesn't seem that mad about Germany being in Trieste, although I'm not sure what he could do about it. But that's probably because Trieste is agreeing to support him in Serbia. So Austria's just doing whatever he can to hang in there. Turkey is kind of flailing. Going back to the disbands, I think it probably was a mistake for Turkey to disband Black Sea. If I were him, I probably would have disbanded Livonia. Black Sea is just so useful in supporting Khan, Bulgaria, Romania, Sevastopol, etc. And without those, I think it's going to be a bit more difficult for him to get back up on top of the East. Over in the West, Italy looks like supports London to Bray, which is nice. I probably with the agreement that Brest will then support Marseille to Paris, except he didn't get into Marseille. Germany bounced him. So Italy is just focused on eliminating France and seeing what happens after that, probably with an agreement with England that once France is done, he'll turn on Germany. And given Germany and England still can't seem to get along, Germany takes Belgium. That might be a good bid by Italy. Eliminate the wild card in France and let England and Germany fight it out and see what you can get.
Is it just yeah, Doug, you've commented on this before. Is it just shocking that Germany and England can't get it together here?
It sometimes happens. You get up a legacy of distrust, and you just can't get over that. It may be that Doc is just like, look, you don't need Belgium. You're not doing anything with it. I can put armies in the eastern part of the board. If you want me to be helpful, you need to give me Belgium. I'll build in Berlin. And, then all of a sudden we have something to say over there because your fleet in St. Petersburg isn't doing any good. We can't attack Turkey. The only person who can do that is me. And that's a credible argument to make at this point. If England is just sitting there with Belgium not doing anything, I would be very frustrated with that. It's like, what are we doing? Let's do something. Let's pop that unit, rebuild a fleet, whatever it is, let's go. I would be if I'm Germany right now, I'm actually really frustrated with England. England is getting tactically and strategically beaten, and it's limiting my play at the same time.
Okay, Doug, why don't you continue into the fall now?
Okay. So Germany does take Belgium. The East, you've got, Austria doing the best they can, it looks like, to defend against Turkey. I really love this Marseille to Burgundy right here. That's a key move. I like that. The moves sort of speak for themselves. I think things have started to harden in a little bit here. I just want to call out like a couple really smart things. West again is sort of growing in the West. Italy is growing in the West, and he's like waiting and biding his time in the East, letting that resolve itself while you have a big morass of fights between Turkey and Austria, and you've built a bulwark with yourself by having that German army in Trieste. This is clever. And I also think it's interesting that Turkey just took St. Petersburg, something that he's not ultimately going to be able to hold, which, that unit, England pulls that unit. Now England is sitting down at 5, but gets a rebuild. So that's actually intriguing. Well, I'll be curious to see what England gets to rebuild there.
If I'm Germany, I love that I talked Turkey into taking St. Petersburg. I mean, it isn't holdable long term. It hurts England, and it directs 2 Turkish armies away from my border. So that's a good diplomatic play from Germany to convince Turkey to do that.
Okay, let's move on and look at the builds. So France disbands the fleets. Germany builds an army in Kiel, not Berlin. And Russia builds fleet Ankara, presumably to get back into the Black Sea, which he had to pull earlier in the game. Okay, moving along. We still like Italy here?
I like Italy a lot. They're doing great work here. Turkey's position is really strong, I think, as well. At some point here, they're gonna guess right, and they're gonna pick off Warsaw or Budapest or Serbia, and that's ultimately going to happen. But Germany, I think, is being really cagey here and super smart with that army in Trieste, saying like, yeah, I'm going to slow you down. This is a really good board. A lot of good play here.
Okay, Doug, why don't we stay on you for the spring?
Okay, I think if I'm Germany, I'm a little frustrated that my move to Sweden wasn't supported by St. Petersburg after helping that happen. Otherwise, we see Italy make a move to the Adriatic, which I think is really important, getting ready to try and take Trieste. Maybe a bit of an agreement here with Turkey. Germany drops down from Silesia to Bohemia. Good play here by Doc. Germany knocks Italy out of Burgundy. And because Italy hasn't walked over to Piedmont at some point, we see that, Germany has a pretty strong position in France. So who's going to get Paris, I think, is the question there. France is done. England and Germany are still fighting. You've got Germany and Italy fighting and the West. Lots of chaos. I love it. This is great.
Little confused about Italy choosing to pull back to the Western Med. If I were him, I probably would have thrown Mid-Atlantic up into the North Atlantic and picked up Liverpool in the fall and kept that army in the Mid-Atlantic. I mean, it's a free dot, and this board is so chaotic anyway. Why not add a little bit to it? I don't think pulling back to the Western Med does anything for him.
Yeah, and I think it shatters England's position to the point that you're going to pick up Brest. And if you're Italy and you're holding Brest and Liverpool, that's you're in great shape. You're able to throw 2 more dots east, doing whatever you need them to do. That might be a mistake. We'll have to see if that costs him a board top at the end.
All right, let's see where we go here. Randy, why don't you comment?
You see, Turkey picks up Greece, which maybe Italy had an inkling that was happening and hence the move back to Western Med, except that he doesn't continue moving it, and he can't guard Greece anyway. So Turkey gets an extra build there, holds the line everywhere else. Italy picks up Trieste, looks like. Yes, because Trieste tried to move to Serbia. That was I think that was a mistake by Doc. I'm not sure why he did that, considering Budapest was supporting Trieste to hold. So Italy is still fine. He's positioned himself probably to either help France retake Bray or just try to take it for himself. He's in Mid-Atlantic and Gascony now, which is interesting. Of Italy, England does very little. England just holds his units. Germany likewise. I just saw that Germany walked into Vienna. Yeah. So it makes it doubly confusing why he didn't hold Trieste.
I also just want to point out that Italy made another mistake here, which is the move to Gascony is fine with the follow up from Portugal to Mao, but why not support Portugal to Mao? Maybe you don't think England is going to move the English Channel there, but why take the risk? Why hold when you can actually support a move that could make a difference?
Yep. Yeah, if you're not going to make that support, go to the Tyrrhenian Sea or Tunis, right, so that you're in position to be supporting Ionian. Now you just lost Greece. You could be losing the Ionian Sea to Turkey here. You're going to have to use Adriatic to support Ionian for a turn, which makes your hold on Trieste a little less secure. This is a couple of unforced errors by Italy, I think here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, going into winter. Really, the only build is that fleet by Turkey. So do you guys still like Italy to top, or are you guys leaning towards Turkey at this stage?
This is Turkey's top to lose.
I think so.
He can force, unless Italy has to pull back the Western Med, or else Turkey will force the Ionian in the fall. It'll take some remarkable coordination between Germany and Italy to keep Austria from losing those 2 dots to Turkey, and I just don't see that as likely to happen. I think Turkey ends up getting Serbia and Budapest. And even if he loses St. Pete, he's still net up to 1 or 2.
Yeah, and Warsaw's gone.
And Warsaw's gone now. So there you go. That's a guaranteed Turkish dot.
Right. You're going to get Warsaw, and it's going to be really tough to hold Budapest and Serbia from Turkey once Turkey puts the mind to it.
Okay, go ahead with the spring.
So first thing here is like, Wes's last turn as Italy is completely unwound now. He's walking to Piedmont. He's going to Mid-Atlantic. He's going to Spain. He's going to Tunis. He just burned an entire turn, his last turn, to get back into position. Luckily here, it didn't cost him. If you're Turkey here, instead of going for the Ionian, I think you crawl to the Adriatic, and then you convoy, Constantinople to Greece from Aegean to try and get more units into the center of the board. Looks a little bit like, Turkey's going to make a play for Scandinavia since Germany and England can't get it together, but maybe they will finally. I don't think I've ever seen a Turkish army in Finland in spring 1909, so that's pretty darn fun. I have to admit, but Turkey's now helping Austria. Take a look at Warsaw is, still open. Germany's up to Silesia. So yeah, I still think Turkey's going to top this board.
I think that Turkey is going to take Sweden this turn while England takes Denmark. I think that's what they've agreed on.
Let's take a look. No. Oh, the other way.
Wow.
Okay. Okay. Wow. England got greedy. Okay, Randy, walk us through it.
Sure.
And look at Marseille. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Great turn for Doc. Great turn for Doc.
Oh.
He hurts England. He picks up a dot. Italy walks into the Irish now. Why Italy decides to do this now instead of 2 years ago, before he was attacked by Turkey? But now, now this is definitely still Turkey's board top to lose. I mean, he picks up Norway. He doesn't lose anything else. He's not going to be able to get into the Ionian, but he doesn't need to, because he can still get Budapest and Serbia pretty much whenever he wants, because Germany and Italy cannot figure out what they're doing down there.
Let's just take a look at the orders. So Sweden supported, Norway supported Skag to Sweden and was cut by the Turks, as did Denmark, which was also cut. It's hard to see what Sweden and Denmark actually did, though.
I think Sweden went to Skagerrak with support from Denmark, which was cut, but effectively guaranteed Turkey-Norway.
Yep. What do you think? West made this decision not to cover Marseille there. That's a really, that really hurts, right? Because now that German unit is free he's got to cover Spain. It's got to, you got to chase that around. And that was all for a failed attack on Budapest.
Well, and also you're chaining 3 units in a row.
That's right.
I don't want to pick on West here because he's played a pretty good game. He's had a couple of rough turns in a row.
Yep.
you don't really need Piedmont to go to Venice. If you know if you're getting into Budapest, Germany is not stabbing you for Venice. It's just unlikely to happen. So cover Marseille, because that's much more important for the long term, because you want to have that army there to help protect 3 of your dots. Yeah, I think that sometimes less is more here, and go back to Marseille, coordinate with Germany, and say like, okay, well, who's going to get Paris? We need to work together and figure this out. How about you get Paris, I get Brest, something like that.
I just want to highlight, this looks like real good diplomacy by Turkey here. He's now got Austria on his side. He put Austria back into Warsaw. Austria is trying to help him into Galicia, so he's got Austria helping him surround those dots that he wants to guarantee his board top.
Unlike a lot of games, this game has had a lot of dynamic flow, and I think that sometimes in the Carnage scoring system you lack that flow, and this one has been exciting because it's had a lot of it.
And lots of credit to Doc for that. He's been all over the place on this board, and I'm sure he's driven a lot of that. Okay, winter. So Turkey builds Ankara, Italy pulls Piedmont, and Germany builds another fleet, which is consistent with what he's been doing lately. So let's go straight into the spring turn. And Randy, why don't you break down the spring?
Yeah, I mean, Italy walks into Liverpool. He trusts Germany enough not to walk into Spain, which is remarkable to me. And Germany doesn't. He pulls back to Burgundy. I'm not sure why he did that, because he didn't also move to Picardy, so he's not trying for Paris. So I'm not sure what Doc is doing there. But Turkey, probably thinking he can't hold Norway, just pulls out entirely, which turns out he could have held it if he'd wanted to. But yeah, but understandably, I think he pulls out because he sees now he can get down to Liverpool, Ukraine. He can force his way into Warsaw now that Austria is helping him up into Galicia. So yeah, Turkey puts himself into Albania, probably aiming to. I'm not sure what he's doing there in Albania, actually, unless he's planning on tapping Trieste to guarantee Serbia, but I doubt he needs to do that.
I think Turkey does hold Norway, though.
Yeah, well, it's a spring turn, so you never know what Doc's going to do. He might poke for one. But what Turkey's really doing here is he knows he doesn't need to hold Norway. He's positioning himself to take Warsaw, which is a fine trade. He's sitting on 9. I think that Doc here is going to work and see if he can top this board. He's under no pressure for Marseille. If he can grab another dot, maybe that's Norway. Keep playing a little bit. Maybe Doc can top this board.
Doc's got to help Warsaw hold, though, but he can't. So Turkey's guaranteed Warsaw, and once he gets that, I think Turkey's pretty much guaranteed Budapest and Serbia as well. So you're right, Doc's got to play for the top, but I'd be surprised if he gets it.
All right, Doc, break it down for the fall.
Well, I mean, Turkey, instead of taking Warsaw, is holding in place and advancing to Prussia. I'm not sure that you need to do that at this point. I think that you can just, I see what you're doing here, and maybe you're trying to get this top, but just go snaffle the dots at this point. This game is going toward an end here. You don't want a situation where if you're topping the board, you start playing conservative, and then Doc walks into Paris because France says, "Well, I'm going to throw to Doc. He's been nice to me." Don't put yourself in that position where you take a board top and you lose it by going conservative. So I would have wanted to see, grab Warsaw here. Why not?
I agree. I think this is getting a little bit too clever.
Okay, let's move along. And we have an English disband, which is the arm in Brest, and another Italian build, which is the fleet in Naples, to defend against the Turkish, presumably. Again, we're pretty close in center count. We've got the Turkish at 10, Doc right behind at 9, and Italy still in the running with 8. So let's just push right ahead. And Randy, go ahead and, Well, there's not much to break down here. It looks like we're sort of at the end of the line. Everybody's holding, except it looks like there's an agreement for the French to get a dot.
A lot of those don't look like holds to me so much as just misorders. This just looks like a bunch of players didn't get orders in.
Do you think that Turkey, Germany, and Italy just made a deal here? Everybody hold in place, and we'll call this game.
Maybe, but why? Who would veto? Like one of them would. You would think one of them would be the ones vetoing the draw because one of them, Germany or Italy in particular, have a chance of topping it, unless it was just to let maybe France wanted to get to 2 and they decided to let him do it.
Yeah. This game must be over. You wouldn't see all that.
I think the deal was let France get to 2. I mean, that's the only thing that has changed is France is taking France.
It doesn't impact the score, but it's fun. France gets to build now.
It gives France 1 point. I mean,
so let's just in the wrapping up, let's just ask. Do you think Doc had a reason to continue playing, or is this kind of a natural result here?
I think he definitely did. He could have gotten Norway and St. Petersburg eventually. Like Doc had a chance at topping the board or going for a tie at the top.
Yeah, I mean, if Turkey inevitably has to fight Italy here, and so that makes Italy your friend in the south, and you've got some units down there to slow things down. Norway and St. Petersburg, Paris, Brest, Eddie and London can be split between Italy and Germany. I think that they had an awful lot to play for still.
Okay, but this is how it ended. So congratulations to Tommy for the board top.